This is the Unsung Cinematics Podcast, where we review some of the best kept secrets in TV and film. Your hosts, Stewart and Rastislav, present you with a misunderstood movie to see if it deserves the title of being unsung. Hello, listeners, and welcome to the Unsung Cinematics Podcast. We're doing episode 5 of 2025 off the record. Today is August the 9th. Hello, Ken. Hello, Rosto. And we have a special pick from Ken today.
Hi, everyone. Hi, guys.
Hello.
And hello, Rosto.
Hello, everyone. Hi, guys.
Hello.
So we are reviewing something we watched in summertime, let's say. And well, I didn't watch much of the stuff, but I watched something. So I watched a couple of TV shows.
Well, with the recent passing of course, the great Ozzy Osbourne, I decided to watch a film that I found on Tubi called Rockfield: The Studio on the Farm, where he and Tony Iommi were interviewed. This was a 2020 release from EA Productions, I believe is the pronunciation. It has a runtime of 90 minutes. There's no MPA rating, but it has coarse language, discussion of drug use, and discussion of a fatal accident. The ratings are 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb, and Metacritic has 3 reviews that work out to an average score of 74. It's a documentary directed by Hannah Berryman, and it features interviews with, of course, Ozzy, his bandmate Tony Iommi, and other musicians such as Robert Plant, Chris Martin, Liam Gallagher, and many others who have recorded at the Rockfield studio over its 60-plus years in operation. Rockfield is one of the first ever residential recording studios. It was built by Welsh farming brothers Kingsley and Charles Ward in the village of Rockfield near the town of Monmouth in Wales. And they along with their families sort of designed it as an addition to their farm, their cattle and pig farm, to house the musicians away from the distractions of the big city, where they could feel more free to sort of create and come up with music and enjoy the peace of agrarian surroundings. The Wards, through building Rockfield, provided the backdrop for the creation of a lot of rock and pop music's most enduring works from groups such as, of course, Black Sabbath, the Stone Roses, Queen, Hawkwind, and Simple Minds, spanning several different eras of music. The film it examines how the Wards have been able to sort of guide their studio through changing musical tastes and media delivery methods. It's still operating today as a studio, but they sort of also diversified into offering art classes and what they call holiday lets, which I guess is similar to vacation rentals. I guess in like a bed and breakfast sort of arrangement. There's also some discussion of their contribution to the new romantic music era, which I believe Rosto may appreciate. I guess mostly Simple Minds kind of figures into that whole discussion.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And
it's pretty amazing. Just let me jump in. This studio was actually featured also in the movie about Freddie Mercury, which obviously the name of the movie is Bohemian Rhapsody. So.
Okay, I haven't actually seen that yet, but they do discuss Bohemian Rhapsody. One of the Ward brothers actually talks about he was looking for Freddie Mercury at one point when they were staying at Rockfield, and he asked Roger Taylor where Freddie might be, and Roger told Ward that Freddie was finishing off a song. And as Ward found him, he was apparently finishing off the final flourishes or touches of the song Bohemian Rhapsody. So, yeah, I guess that's where it sort of dovetails with the Bohemian Rhapsody movie, which I guess I should try and catch sometime soon.
Yeah, and you could see actually typical British or Welsh building with raw walls. There is no finishing. There is just bricks basically and stones. So it's really something.
On the exterior, yeah. but they were
on the
but on the interior they had pretty decent equipment, and they had a pretty good design for like acoustics and that, like with some moving walls. And they actually had one of the sort of amusing anecdotes is they had a microphone set up in a corridor that led to the bathroom, and that's where they captured some very very good tone of drum playing. So
right.
yeah,
That's yeah.
yeah, and I sort of expected this before I watched it. I was expecting it to have a bit more of a zany tone, considering the odd mix of traditional farming with rock and roll hijinks. And there are some amusing anecdotes like along these lines, along with accompanying observations from the Ward brothers. But for the most part, it's like a pretty affectionate, sometimes bittersweet look back at an upstart studio that had a number of imitators in later years, including apparently Richard Branson tried to build a similar studio. I believe it was called Virgin Studios. But they've stood the test of time, and they've helped musicians create songs that have done the same. So yeah, as a documentary, I enjoyed it quite a bit. And at the start of the end credits, there's a list by decade of all the musicians and bands who have passed through Rockfield. And you have some interesting names like Sepultura and Opeth, alongside of bands like Simple Minds and the Stone Roses, which actually sort of helped. They stayed there for 14 months and apparently carried Rockfield through some hard times at like the beginning of the 90s, when the music industry was going through one of its changes.
Right.
Yeah. And so
That's
it's available
amazing.
to stream. Yeah, it's very amazing. Yeah. It's available to stream on Prime Video, and I watched it on Tubi, and I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 rating.
Great.
Perfect.
And it's it's a nice little a few snippets to watch of Ozzy Osbourne and talking about their early days there. There's one little anecdote he gives where he says they started out as a rock and roll band dabbling in drugs, and they sort of turned into a drug band dabbling in rock and roll.
Oh, jeez.
So,
well, he's kind of right?
Yeah.
Oh well, I mean, he was pretty honest about that. So, but it was nice to see the interviews with he and Iommi and all the other musicians, and including Liam Gallagher from Oasis. And yeah, it's definitely worth a watch.
Many great albums came from that studio. So
you wouldn't. I had no idea until I watched this film.
Yeah. Hey Ken, I do have one question for you. I sent you a video.
Yep.
Was it yesterday or 2 days ago? One of them was Ozzy Osbourne listening to his original track, unmixed track
for Crazy Train.
Crazy Train. Now, was that the same studio?
I believe, yes. I believe that was done at Rockfield. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I know he did a bit of his solo work at Rockfield. So don't quote me on it, but I think there's a good chance that was recorded at Rockfield. I would have to look into that and get back to you, but yeah, it's quite possible. Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe you can let us know before the episode goes live, and we can throw it in the show notes. Okay, thanks for that, Ken.
Yep.
And that will bring us to my grader pick, which is Simulant from 2023. It is Simulant. It is. Yeah, it's essentially a Blade Runner clone. I'm not gonna say that it isn't.
Yeah, just say it.
I mean, okay, it's a simulant, or it's even in the name.
Simulacrum,
or a replicant, I suppose. And it's 2023. It's a Canadian film, actually. Wango Films and Telefilm Canada co-produced it, and it has a runtime of 95 minutes. Rated R for adult situations, similar, I would suggest, to Blade Runner. And there is some very, very partial nudity, but it's it's only a couple scenes, and it's not even sex. It's just like a robot that is partially naked. So take it as you will. And
I'm sorry, but I wonder why it's not rated at all.
Because it's not mass produced, I suppose, because it's kind of a under the radar type of film that was probably ended up on some streaming service, or maybe it ended up on one of the Canadian channels.
It probably never got submitted to the MPAA for review.
Yeah, and it was also a Bell. Bell had their hands in it as well, so I suppose it was on one of the Bell channels as well, Bell satellite channels. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, it wasn't a major studio release, so they probably didn't feel the need to.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. But as for ratings goes, the user ratings were quite poor. 5.2 on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, a 41% score, and no one bothered to review it. None of the major critics bothered to review it. And it, like Blade Runner, it's a sci-fi directed by April Mullen, and we have our main characters or actors are Robbie Amell again. He plays Evan. He's the simulant, I suppose, not the replicant. We have Jordana Brewster as Faye, which is his wife. Simu Liu as Casey. He's the lead scientist in this whole film. And then we have Sam Worthington as Kessler. He is the cop or the AI enforcement detective, and he's sort of a simple character. Now, Robbie Amell, I've mentioned in other picks that I've had recently, he's a fairly decent actor. So, but anyhow, the film isn't quite as futuristic as Blade Runner is, and even in the reboot, this is more resembles modern day with some extra features such as the robot. Like, you have these robots that are not human-like, and they're more non-autonomous, I should say, and more functionaries than anything. So they do dishes, they do simple tasks around the home, and maybe even walk the dog a little bit. And they are upright and upstanding, but they're very robotic in the way they move. And as time went on, they keep developing newer versions of this android, and that's how we get to the film today, is where we have these human-looking androids that basically are indistinguishable from other humans. So we have all the same precepts, similar Blade Runner. They have a set of rules that the androids are not allowed to break. They're just basically worded in a different way than they would be in Blade Runner. The company that builds these androids, they're in their 7th generation, and they still, for the most part, are obedient to their masters. However, one of the ex-developers decides he wants to break away from the company because he's not happy with what the company is doing with these androids, these robots. So he goes off on his own. The company's kind of begging him to stay on, but he decides to go on his own. And they're unaware that he has basically stolen a bunch of the technology with him, right? So we have a semi-well-off couple who decides that they want to take backups of themselves. So in secret, they have these 2 blank robots, which they're not supposed to have, but they have them in this locked-up room, and they download their brains every day as a backup, just in case something goes wrong, that they die or whatever. And it actually happens where one of the, Evan, played by Robbie, he ends up getting into a car crash, and he has these dreams that something's not quite right with his life. Eventually his wife tells him that he is actually an android, and he's kind of shocked that he is because he doesn't realize it. And she kind of pulls the plug on him and reveals that he's got all these internal workings, and he's kind of trying to wrestle with the idea that he's an android, which has been done in so many other films and genres and TV series, but it is what it is. So Kessler, he's the compliance officer. He's tasked with tracking a recent string of self-aware androids who seem to have no restrictions placed on them, so they can do whatever they're free to that they want to do. So they ignore all the presets such as harming other people and stealing and changing their own code and whatnot. So he untangles this web of hacked simulants, and he manages to capture one of them, and he starts to try to figure out why she's doing what she's doing. And he doesn't get really far at the beginning. Eventually, he sort of works out some of the connections she has to other people and to eventually back to Casey, the lead scientist. And it's sort of revealed that he's been plotting this whole time to basically free all androids of a certain revision code. I guess it would be like version 7 or version 5 of the androids, so that they can all become self-aware and become, individuals, I suppose. So there is 2 plot twists in the film. One is near the start, which I had already sort of spoiled, I guess, which was that Evan didn't know he was an android. And then the second one I won't spoil, but it comes at the end, and it's regarding another replicant, as they call him. Or not a replicant, a simulant, as they call them. See, I'm getting my Blade Runner references mixed up here. But anyways, I don't think the film quite deserves the negative reviews that are seen on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's a decent clone of Blade Runner. I know there's others out there for sure that are half decent, but this one, I think they did put a lot of effort into it, and they wanted to make it not exactly like Blade Runner. So again, it's more focused on what we see here and now, not a futuristic version of it. And it has more of a drama aspect of it. So it's exploring more of the psychological factor and the dynamics between the relationship between Evan's wife and himself, and also the other simulants are out there who are just trying to survive. So it's more focused on that. I felt the music was suitable as well. And I would say that the technology is not the main focus of this film. So with that said, that I'm going to give this a 6.9 out of 10. And I want to say that April Mullen is half decent director. I think she's cinematically, she's got all the right cues in place, and she's done a couple guest directing appearances on DC Legends of Tomorrow and Killjoys.
All right.
I think the reason why this got such low reviews is because they basically just tried to clone Blade Runner, and I think the diehards and the people who are fans of Blade Runner didn't want to see another clone. So
that's what I figured.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I think it's worth it.
Yeah, if you're into Blade Runner films and you're not super negative about another clone, then this might be a pick for you.
Might be a nice afternoon. Yeah. That's pretty cool. CGI was good.
There wasn't a lot of CGI. There was some of the effects, like the robot's power source and stuff, and when he gets opened up, there's some CGI there. But it's not a lot of CGI, and there's not a ton of special effects in the film.
Okay. Yeah, so guys, check it out. My greater pick is, like I said at the beginning, my today's picks are both TV shows. So my greater pick is Afterlife. It's a British streaming television series, I would say. It was actually written, directed, created, produced, and the main character is played by Ricky Gervais. Sorry. I was trying to train how to pronounce it. So yeah, it was Ricky Gervais. I really do like it because I used to follow Ricky in his stand-up series, as well as I was closely watching his moderating the Golden Globe, where he was always very good at hitting the spot, so to speak. Sometimes offending lots of big cats from Hollywood,
Yeah.
not not everybody was happy with him, and I think basically eventually they dropped him from the show, right? He wasn't moderating the Golden Globe anymore. I think eventually they got rid of him, probably after
Well,
so many complaints.
he said it himself. He
Yeah,
doesn't care.
he doesn't care, and that's why he's really good. He's really good.
Yeah.
He's. I'm serious. I'm serious. His humor is amazing, and it's the guy who and who doesn't care, like you said. And this is
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
apparent in this TV series because in this TV series he plays the guy whose wife pass dies on breast cancer, and he's very sad. He's very suicidal, and let's say being nice to people or trying to create some nice environment, and he just can't get over it. So he makes it his mission to be asshole to everybody, everybody around, and to say whatever he feels like to, and so but it's well written, the text, the script is very very well written, those dialogues and everything else. He's you have those scenes like he's at home, he keeps playing the video with his wife, he's very sad. Then you have those scenes where he's at work. He works for some small town newspapers, and he's got like bunch of colleagues, and he's very unpleasant to all of them. Basically, his boss is wife's or ex. I mean, not ex-wife, but his late wife's brother. So they trying to tolerate him, but he's still really, throwing and shooting those. I would say jokes or saying whatever he wants, and but he's explaining like why he's doing that. Basically, it's like he's some sort of superpower, like he's trying to protect himself by being asshole to all of the people around him. He's trying to
Yeah.
protect
Yeah.
himself, and this is his way how to deal with sadness and everything else. So, and he also deals a lot with his father. His father, as far as I understood, he's got some progressing Alzheimer. So there's also lots of jokes around that. Jokes are it's very black and tragic jokes, very British, dry, typical Ricky Gervais.
Mm-hmm.
It's there is no surprise there. But the show itself, it's not only about the jokes, but it's also about there is a deep thought in this show, like how to deal with your troubles in life, how to have healthy relationships, how to talk to people. It's very nice,
Right.
it's not purely only about the jokes. Among others, there are a bunch of British, obviously British actors: Tom Basden, Diane Morgan, Tony Way, Carrie Godliman, Ashley Jensen, etc., etc. And Ricky Gervais actually pitched this show to Netflix, and they took it right away. He did it in
Hmm.
2018 until 2022. It has 3 seasons, and it's very light and pleasant to watch. And IMDb gave it a rating 8.4. It's rated for a mature audience. Each episode has 30 minutes, so it's not such a chore, to watch it. And actually, popularity is increasing recently. So I think people are looking for stuff from Ricky Gervais. Yeah, if you want to watch something tragic slash, humorous, something light, go for it.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm a big Office fan, and I've seen both versions of The Office, and
Yes.
fan of Ricky, and I'll probably try to get this in my watch list here soon.
yeah, do that. Yeah, Office was also great. Yeah.
All right. I guess
All
we're
right.
headed back to Ken.
So on the other side of the spectrum, for my lesser pick, I'll be talking about the 2011 film Absentia. It's a release from Phase 4 Films with a runtime of 91 minutes and an MPA rating of R for language and some disturbing images. It's sitting at 5.8 out of 10 on IMDb currently. There's no Metacritic rating. This is an early film written and directed by Mike Flanagan, who we've discussed on the podcast before. Specifically, Rosto has talked about some of his Netflix series. And of course, he's made films such as Hush, Doctor Sleep, and most recently, The Life of Chuck, the Stephen King adaptation. Um, this is one of his, as I said, this is one of his earlier films. This is actually the one he directed before Oculus. He made Oculus and or the feature film of Oculus in 2013, which I believe was a feature film version of a short film series he had done. And the story opens with Trisha, who's played by Courtney Bell. She's a woman who has been searching for her missing husband Daniel, who's played in flashbacks by Morgan Peter Brown, for 7 years, and she's now a mother to be, resulting from a recent unspecified relationship. She's trying to stay afloat financially and is about to file the official paperwork declaring Daniel dead in absentia when her sister Callie, who's played by Katie Parker, re-enters her life. Callie has a bit of a checkered past involving drug use, but she's recently become clean, if not quite sober, and this figures later into the film. Tricia has become close to Detective Mallory, who's played by Dave Levine. He was the primary investigator in Daniel's disappearance. And as part of her moving on process, she's ready to sort of become more serious with him. And Callie encourages this as they reestablish their relationship. However, Tricia has started to have visions of Daniel, and these are starting to bleed over from her nightmares into her daily life. And Callie also has some strange experiences during her daily morning runs, which she goes through. And during these runs, she goes through a tunnel near Trisha's townhouse, and there is where she encounters a seeming vagrant who's played by famed creature performer Doug Jones, who has acted in a lot of Guillermo del Toro films. Someone who turns out to be this person's son, who's played by Mike Flanagan's brother Jamie. Callie also comes into unexplained possession of watches and some other items who are owned by people besides Daniel who have gone missing in the recent past. And this sort of arouses the suspicions of Detective Mallory. Callie and Tricia end up having to deal with this and also the intrusion of the being who was behind Daniel's disappearance. Uh, and as I was saying, this was the film Flanagan directed before making Oculus. It was actually partially funded by a Kickstarter campaign, which they originally started out trying to raise 15,000, but the campaign managed to raise nearly $25,000, and I think that was like a third of the budget for this film, which they filled out by private investors and such. And as detailed on the film's IMDb page, it's an update of the Three Billy Goats Gruff folk tale. Callie actually gifts Tricia with a copy of this book meant for her unborn child. So I'm not actually familiar with that. I've heard of the folk tale, but I've never actually read it. Maybe I'm not sure if you fellows have read it, but maybe you can find the parallels there. I enjoyed Parker and Bell's performances. They were pretty natural together as sisters with their ups and downs in their relationship. However, I didn't find the scare or creep factor to be as strong as with Flanagan's later films and TV shows. It's a bit more, I guess you would say, subdued as compared to like some of the imagery that was in, I believe, the Fall of the House of Usher that he did, that I believe Rosto discussed before.
Yeah, I saw some of his miniseries.
Right,
I'm a big
right.
fan of Mike Flanagan. He's got a knack for suspense and horror. I
Yeah,
believe this
yeah.
is one of his earlier stuff, right?
It is, yeah.
His Absentia. Yeah.
Yeah, like I say, I think the budgetary limitation. I think he wanted to tell a bit more of an ambitious horror mystery. Like it seems kind of similar to the Guillermo del Toro film Mimic that came out back in 1997 with the theme of like unidentified creatures abducting people.
Okay.
There's also I don't want to go into too much detail, but there's also sort of an insect theme running through the film. I guess he had to compromise on his vision a bit because of the low budget, but the cinematography and the production design, they try to compensate through that. But his knack, I think, as you say, he's got a knack for more, I guess, more personal horror stories that have based on around people's psychological makeup, I guess you would say. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I think this is a better showcase of his skill in writing relationships between characters.
Yeah. This is something I saw in the haunting on Hill House. That
Right,
was
right.
great show, and the other one you also mentioned. So yeah, he's really good. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say this is worth seeing, but it's not going to be as thrilling as, say, his other films, like the ones we've talked about. But it is still worth seeking out to see some of his earlier work. It's available on DVD from Phase 4 Films, and you can stream it on the Plex service. So my rating is going to be 6 out of 10.
Nice.
That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. Like I say, it's not as. I mean, there is one jump scare that's kind of effective, but the scare factor isn't. There's very little. There is one sort of gory scene toward the end, but other than that, it's a little bit more subdued, I guess you would say.
Okay.
Right.
And this film has nothing to do with the TV series from 2017.
No, I don't. I think those are two separate things.
Two
Two
separate things. All
separate
just
things.
happen to
Yeah,
have the
yeah.
same name. Okay.
They just happen to have the same name. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
Cool.
So for
Or
Flanagan fans, if you haven't checked it out already, give it a shot and see where he started to build his. I don't know if you want to say formula, but his story structure and stuff like that.
all right. Indeed. So
Yeah.
Indeed.
we'll move on to my
Yeah.
lesser pick. And for those of you who have been following us on Substack, I had written a review on the TV series
I read that.
Dead Like Me from
Yeah, pretty scathing.
2000 and 2003 to 2004. So if you haven't read that review yet, I suggest reading that one first because this is a follow-up review. And my pick is Dead Like Me, Life After Death, which is a 2009 follow-up film and possibly a homage, or maybe it was supposed to tie up some loose ends from the TV series. I don't know what its main purpose was, but anyhow, fans were excited before the film was released to have it because I guess a lot of fans. There's sort of a small, very small cult following, and it had some decent reviews on IMDb. I didn't give it very good reviews, but anyhow, the film is R-rated because of adult situations and some swearing. IMDb reviews are giving it a 6 out of 10 and 38% on Rotten Tomatoes. So we can already see where this is headed. And just like the original TV series, it's a dark comedy directed by Stephen Herrick and Brian Fuller, who is the writer. Returning to the film is Ellen Muth as George or Georgie, Callum Blue as Mason, Sarah Winter as Daisy, Jasmine Guy as Roxy. She's the police officer who I inconveniently left out of my written review, which she actually is there. And then Henry Ian Cusick as Cameron. He's the main antagonist of the film, and you've probably seen him in other films. He seems like a very familiar face. Anyhow, the film picks up where the original four Reapers left off, And as I had said, the fourth Reaper, who I didn't really mention in the written review, is a parking meter attendant who turned cop. Now, the reason I forgot about her in the original review is because her role was on and off throughout the series. So she would show up for one episode, then you wouldn't see her for a couple episodes, then she would show up for like 2 episodes, and then she'd be gone again. So it's unknown to me why that's the case, and that's the reason why I had totally forgotten about her character, which was my bad. Unknown to the 4 Reapers, their prior boss had gone missing. That's the one who handed out the notes and their assignments. So they go looking for their old boss to find out what happened to him, and it turns out he's been replaced by the new antagonist, which is Cameron. He is a sort of a rich, suave type of guy who's in it for himself, and his duties as a Reaper are kind of like something he's supposed to do, but he doesn't really seem all that interested in it. And so he begins to hand out the assignments to the other Reapers, and unlike their old boss, he sees things in a very different manner. He's also very outspoken, and as revealed throughout the film, he has his own agendas in place on how the Reaps should be handled. So their old boss would be very meticulous and to make sure that things were done correctly so that none of the people who are actually dying had to go through extra pain and suffering, and otherwise they wouldn't have to go through. But with this new head Reaper, he doesn't care so much about that kind of stuff. So instead of post-it notes, he's now handing out the assignments with cell phones and texting and whatnot, because he doesn't want to really deal with the whole process. Film, like the TV series, is still narrated by Ellen Muth, and throughout the film we basically find out that the only reason he's the head Reaper is because he has a side scam going on, and he's using the reaping as a way to basically make more money for himself. And the plot is essentially the same. Basically 4 Reapers going out trying to figure out or trying to reap the souls that they're supposed to reap, and then find out where their old boss went, and basically out Cameron as basically the bad guy in the film.
That sounds horrible.
yeah, it's horrible. Again, if you haven't read the original review or don't know anything about this, I suggest do that first. And I will just mention this. The film never really wraps up any of the loose ends from the TV series. The plots, the explained plots in the TV series were unfortunately very open-ended, and they never really explained anything. A lot of loose ends. Georgie, however, at least in this film, does eventually get to tell her sister Reggie that she's been dead for the last 4 years, or I guess it's maybe 7 years now. And maybe not 7 years, maybe 4 years, because she's basically starting to learn how to drive. So she gets to finally get some closure with her sister, who has been sort of in a really bad state her life since her sister had died. And the same old subplot is there with her old family, and there's no explanation as to why this is even a subplot, because it's essentially just them living out their lives without Georgie, who is the main character of the Reaper. So I don't know why they included that at all. They could have just went without it, but anyhow, I didn't really like this film, as you can guess, and the jokes, like, this is a dark humor comedy. That's how it's classified, but really, the jokes are poorly timed, and for all intents and purposes, I think you might as well just call it a drama at this point. So all in all, I'm going to give this a solid 5 out of 10, because essentially they essentially just made a 2-part TV episodes rather than a closing film. So
Better than I
Okay.
expected you to give it.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because even the diehard cult-like fans of the original series have reviewed this film quite poorly as well. So,
Ouch.
Okay.
so there's
Okay.
there's my
Well,
there's my follow-up to my written review.
Yeah.
at, at least I know what to avoid. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Hmm.
Let me conclude this second round where we are reviewing the lesser picks. So my lesser pick is again a TV show. It's called You, and it's a psychological thriller developed by Greg Berlanti and Sarah Gamble. They originally pitched it to Netflix. They refused it, and then later they took it. When once they saw it's quite successful, they took it. First, it was with network called Lifetime, and then they switched to Netflix. It's based on the book actually written by I don't know how to pronounce this name, but Caroline Kepnes, I guess. Okay. The book is called, or novel is called also You, and then it altogether it's 5 seasons. Second or third season was based on the follow-up novel called Hidden Bodies. It's a psychological thriller with some elements of humor, or I would say some black humor, and it's about this, I would say, psychopath who is a manager in the bookstore, and he's got also some interesting youth. He's he's a boy. He was a boy who got stuck in the system, basically, all kinds of foster parents, etc. And he ended up as a kid with a previous owner of this bookstore. He learned him all the, the the selling. He learned him to love books, to sell books, to repair old damaged books, and all kinds of interesting things. On the other hand, he also learned him to be basically what he is. He is a psychopath. He's very charming, very easy to talk to. On the other hand, there are some hidden uh, dark side in him. Basically, what he does, he always falls in love with a girl, and then he's obsessing over this girl. He follows her. He's kind of a stalker. He's checking up on her on online. He hacks
Uh-oh.
to his girlfriend's accounts. Like Facebook or emails and etc. Blogs or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And then basically he's kind of always with her, with his girlfriend, and he's basically removing uh, all the other suitors. Like when he thinks that she would, cheat on him, or when someone is, trying to be nice to her or something, or trying to hook up, then basically he ends up dead in many interesting ways. Also, what I was enjoying is the this typical main character narration. So basically, his thoughts, or his uh, how he think his thinking. What's gonna be next step. His real opinion of others.
Right.
So there is this narration, like a voice talking. That's something I like. However, this TV show is very soon is becoming repetitive.
Uh.
To be honest, I saw plenty of these kind of shows. Let's start with Dexter. That's very similar to it, or Mindhunter, or even the Sharp Objects. It's very similar to many other shows, or The Sinner. I actually like The Sinner a lot. That was really good show. Or Bodies, etc., etc. And
This isn't based on some real life serial killer, is it?
well, I'm not sure if meh, maybe. I don't think so. No, I don't think so. It's more like a mixture of charming Ted Bundy, slash some other psychopath, like well, you name it. I mean,
Oh,
it's not
plenty.
really based on the concrete serial killer, but more like a mixture of even fictional serial killer, or real life. I would say more similar to Ted Bundy, because Ted Bundy was also very guy and charming, and he knows
Yeah,
how to
yeah.
talk smoothly to ladies. On the other hand, when once he start to be, once he went berserker, then that's it basically.
Hmm.
So this is something like that. But the
Right, right.
problem of this show, like I said, is repetitiveness. It's always the same. It's like copy paste. It's like first season is based in New York. He operates under fake name Joe Goldberg. Then the second season is from LA. Again, he operates under some different
Alias.
name, etc., etc. And basically, and also I see some troubles with this show, because practically it it has 5 seasons. However, the show was streamed between 2018 and 2025. So there are some gaps, when
Oh, yeah.
probably they were
Trying
probably
to
deciding,
retool
are
it
we
or
going?
something.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe.
exactly. So there was lots of hassle, and they just couldn't fill out the story, and
Right.
it's apparent that they were struggling with moving on, or you know keep going with this show. It's not always that easy.
Yeah.
And eventually I dropped watching this, and I didn't finish watching. And it's also very visible on the ratings, because popularity is practically going down, and now is stopped on 7.6 out of 10.
Which is
When I
still not
was,
bad.
it's still not bad, but there used to be more than 8,
Mm,
as far as I remember.
okay. And the popularity is also going downhill too.
Right.
Okay. So what's your final score?
My final score is, I'm gonna give the same score like you, 6.9 out of 10. I cannot give it more.
So that's still pretty
Uh,
decent considering.
it's
Yeah.
still pretty decent. You still could enjoy it, but you need to see for yourself.
So is it kind of like something you watch the first season, then you just move on to something else, or
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, after first season,
because it
maybe
sounds like it's
half of
entirely
the second one.
okay? Because it sounds like it's an entirely different plot from the first season, right? You're moving to a different city, so it's basically like starting over from scratch, right?
Something like that, because he feels threatened in New York. He needs to disappear because there is lots of bodies, that lots of people that disappeared, that he's connected to. Needs to move on. So,
Okay.
and then again in LA, people are killed, and he always managing to escape. It's kind of like Dexter series clone, basically.
Right.
So for people, however, for people who are going to watch this the very first time, it might be entertaining. But for us, movie geeks, that we watch lots of stuff, it's becoming really annoying after a while.
Right. Okay.
So that's my lesser,
Alrighty.
and that's it.
Okay. Thanks for that, Rosto. I'll be sure to probably not check it out. But anyhow, I do have one dishonorable mention, and it's unfortunate what happened with this. But Twisted Metal, the new season 2, I have watched the first 3 episodes, and it went from a really highly praised series to dumpster fire. I don't know what happened between series 1 and season 1 and 2. I think maybe possibly their success was short-lived, and they maybe went straight to their head, because in season 2 so far it's been a bit of a dumpster fire. They took all the worst elements from modern TV and threw it into this. So what became something that was in your face and humorous and full of one-liners became poorly timed jokes, cringe-worthy jokes, and full of feminist ideologies at least for the first 3 episodes. So, yeah, that's very unfortunate. So I may end up watching the rest of the season 2 just to fill it out and get the whole picture, because they didn't really get into the actual car carnage yet. So it's possible they'll redeem themselves once the car carnage comes, but the way it is right now, they'd have to do a major U-turn to fix that. And considering the episodes are probably all finished already, I'm going to say probably not going to be any better.
So dig out the old PlayStation and just play the original game again for a while?
Yeah, just pretend that season 2 hasn't happened and watch season 1, I guess.
Yeah, well. Yeah, because I do remember you did seem to enjoy season 1.
Yeah, well, it's full of carnage and blood and guts and jokes that were correctly timed, but this season it just went, I don't know if I want to use the word, but full millennial, if that makes sense.
Well, now come on. We can't blame everything on millennials. I mean,
yeah, I can't blame everything on millennials. It's all your fault, Ken.
Yeah, us Gen Xers, we got to share some blame too.
All right.
Yep. So anyways, that's my dishonorable mention, and I suppose that wraps up this episode of Off the Record, and we had some interesting picks. So thank you, boys, for coming on. And
thanks, Stu. Thanks, Rosto. Thanks to our listeners.
Yeah, and do you have anything special to say about Ozzy there, Ken, before we sign out?
Thanks for all the music and thanks for the good times. I had the chance to see him back in 2008, and I was in the 13th row, and I wasn't quite close enough to get hit by his foam cannon, but it was close enough to see, why everyone. Well, I'll put it this way: he's one of the few performers I was able to see live, and I'm sure other performers appreciate their audiences, but whenever Ozzy said I love you all, he said that a lot in his concerts. I believe he really meant it.
All right.
And he meant a lot to a lot of people, so, and may he rest comfortably wherever he's at now.
Okay, so take care, everyone, and you have a wonderful day or evening or afternoon or whatever it is. The Unsung Cinematics podcast is produced by Rastislav Miklos and Stuart Rathje. The statements in this podcast are the opinions of the hosts and not necessarily a true statement or literal fact. You can find us on Substack at unsungcinematics.substack.com or listen to us on your favorite podcasting app. Copyright 2025.